listening to the Orchestra Teacher Podcast.
Welcome to the Orchestra Teacher Podcast. Dr. Charles Laux, and I have two fantastic guests here live at the GMEA conference. We have our ORF background, and we've had an awesome conference so far. It's been basically a full 2 days, and great sessions, great concerts, and asked a luncheon today where we gave away some prizes and had a great time and had a good meal together. And it's just always fun to come together at GMEA because it's like a reunion, honestly. It really is. So I have with us Sarah Black and Amy Clement, and they both teach at North Gwinnett Middle School. They've been there for quite a while together. We're going to talk about their team teaching and the ins and outs of all the crazy stuff that probably happens with their hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kids. It's amazing what they do. And I remember when I was at Kennesaw, I would come observe, and I was just blown away by what you guys did and how you handled all those kids. And not only did you just handle them, they sounded amazing. So let's welcome you guys. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. I guess tell us about, I guess maybe we'll start with Sarah. Tell us about a little bit about your background and some of the things you've done. And
Sure. So I started playing, I grew up in North Carolina, started playing violin at the age of 10 in Hendersonville, North Carolina. And it was a public school program. I would not have been introduced to violin without public school.
Same.
And it's a relatively small town, so I look back and the fact that they were forward thinking enough to have that back in a long time ago, when I was 10.
Long time ago.
Long time ago. But so it's really important to me. I think I have a passion for public school string education and music education. And so grew up in North Carolina and then went to Appalachian State for my undergrad. Yes, go Mountaineers. And then moved to Georgia right after I graduated. I sort of subbed. I graduated in December. So I subbed.
Yeah, 6 months.
Right. I subbed all over in every grade level from kindergarten PE to AP calculus.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Both bad,
Okay.
but with everything in between. So, but it really gave me some classroom experience, so that was great. And then started teaching in Gwinnett County at Lanier Middle School in 1997. And then the Lanier Middle School split in 2009 to North Gwinnett Middle School, which is when we both went to North Gwinnett Middle.
And you started there, what year was it?
I started at Lanier in 1997.
Yeah. But what year did your school open? You opened your school?
We opened North Gwinnett in
So you've
2009.
been at your school since dirt.
Correct,
right?
since dirt.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun to open a new school.
We all have a brick. We all got a brick.
Oh,
that,
okay.
So yes,
yeah, we got
did.
a little, we didn't get a brick. We had little vials of dirt that they gave us from underneath it. Yeah.
Nice.
When I opened my middle school. All right. It's crazy. And Amy?
I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky, and my mom started me on Suzuki violin when I was 5 because I was a really bad kid and I always had to do stuff with my hands.
And never change.
Well, that's right. Now I teach middle school. But I did it for a long time and I really enjoyed it, but until I got into high school, which is when I had the orchestral experience, that changed my life because I was only doing, group lessons and private lessons, but that was just a really different experience for me and I loved it. And I went to Loyola in New Orleans and I started off in music therapy and I realized that was not for me by my sophomore year. And so I got a degree in performance and a minor in psychology because I had all the credits.
Cool.
And then I stayed and I did my master's. Dean Angelis was at Loyola and he encouraged me. He said, you would be a really good teacher. And I'm like, I don't think so, but I'll do this for a little while and just see. And then it all worked out. And I was very grateful for my, him and also Valerie Paula at Loyola. They were great. So I actually moved when I left New Orleans, I moved to Iowa, Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and I lived there for a year and I played in the symphony part-time and I also taught middle school, but it was very difficult. So I moved to Georgia and that was in 97. And so I've been there since then.
And then did you guys just end up at the same school together or did you know each other before?
No, we started in the county the same year, 1997, and we had several people. Tim Anderson started that same year in Gwinnett, and so several of us. And then we taught together at camp, summer camp.
Oh, okay.
We co-conducted. We were like, wow, we have really good time. And then when we got an opening at Lanier Middle, where I was like, hey, Amy, and she was looking for, you had gone to teach at high school,
I was
right?
teaching at Collins Hill,
Oh, okay.
and my position actually was dissolved.
Oh, were you like a second director?
I was the second person. I was working with John
difficult,
Harriman,
yep.
and it was like, I don't even know, March maybe, or
Right.
April.
And you were kind of already thinking about coming back to
Yeah,
middle school.
my heart is definitely in middle school, so
Okay.
I definitely wanted to go back at some point.
So we were like, well, we teach together pretty well at
Yeah.
camp, and we have a good time. So that was what did we decide?
2005.
2005.
Yes.
And the rest is history.
Wow.
We've taught together a long time.
That is,
years.
that's amazing. It's amazing. So, I mean, there's a lot of teachers out there that have people they work with, assistants or co-teaching or whatever you want to call it, and they just, I mean, I'm sure you guys have had disagreements over the years.
Oh yes, we
Never.
well, neither one of us is stubborn, and we both like to admit we're wrong. No, I'm just kidding. I think one of the things is we're both very strong personalities,
Yes.
but that works out well because we both have a huge amount of respect for each other. It starts with and love, respect and love for each other.
I said she's the sister I never knew I needed or
Nice.
wanted or whatever. Yep.
But we have the same end goal, which is we want our kids to love music and be set up really well.
For sure.
And
Yep.
so having that same end goal, and I think too, one of the reasons it works is we are co-directors. We don't say assistant, and
Yeah,
I mean we
yeah.
joke. We're like, today you're my assistant, or can I please be your assistant? 'Cause I
Yeah,
don't
for
want to-
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, but that's great because you can feed off each other, and there are days when you're not 100%, or you're like tired, or something happened, or whatever, and it's like, boom, I got you.
Or you're like, I've tried this and I've done this and it's just not gelling. Can you help me think of some other ways? And that's really nice to have that person to bounce ideas off.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So it's great. We always joke, I say, you're really good at that, like seating charts. Sarah's really good at seating charts. I hate to do those.
You're really good at that is code for I don't want to do this.
Right,
Yes,
for
yes.
sure.
But we both, and we both do everything. Like
Yeah.
we both do paperwork. We both teach the kids. We've, I think, found a good way. We divide by piece, so we still have ownership.
Sure.
And also with middle schoolers, they need that consistency. I think high schoolers are a little more flexible. And not to say if I'm not there or she's not there one day, we don't work on the other
Right,
pieces.
for sure.
But I think that kind
Yeah,
of
you take the
helps.
ownership of that piece, and
Yes,
then you
right.
conduct that piece on a concert.
Exactly.
And, Cool. And then, I mean, I know your numbers have fluctuated over the years, but what are your current numbers right
We're
now?
around 600.
And it's just 2, or do you have 3?
We have Kathy part-time.
That's right, there's Kathy
Hudnall, yeah.
part-time.
So
Yes.
she's
That's
here 20
Kathy
hours a
Hudnall,
week.
who's been on the
Yes.
podcast before.
Yes.
And another, legend in the string world. I mean, it's like a dynamite team.
Yeah, we're very fortunate to have Kathy
Yes.
with us, especially because she's lower strings, we're
Right.
upper strings.
That's
so.
right. Yeah,
and,
that's-
and she's flexible, and we're flexible, and our administration is great because they're like, you guys have this worked out when she comes in, right? We're like, we do. So.
And they don't micromanage, which
No,
is
they don't.
They let you
which
do your
is
thing.
Correct.
And
which
she does
is
her
great.
thing.
And yes.
Yeah, and that's nice. So does she pull out kids?
She
lot?
does. She does a little bit of everything.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
I would say she conducts pieces.
Oh, good.
She works sectionals or whatever she needs to do.
So you're all 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, and you have 6 classes.
We have 6 classes.
So
a day, 2
about
of each.
100 in a class.
I think we said our smallest is 93.
93,
And that's
and our
one of
largest
our-
is maybe 111 or
Wow.
something like
Yeah,
that.
and-
And you've
and-
been in our room. It is not that big.
It's not that big, and the way that you have it set up makes it work, and the way that you have your kids trained to follow the procedures. And so tell us a little bit about, like, beginning of the year, 6th grade, those kids don't know your procedures, and there's 100 kids that come in. What do you do?
Do you
Go.
want me to start
Sure,
this? Okay.
you start.
So
I
obviously,
say go, Amy. No,
Yeah, no, I'll see you later. I'll be back tomorrow. No, obviously the first thing we have to teach them is how literally to come into the room, because we have 3 entrances into our room.
That's
so we
right,
have
yeah,
one
there's-
entrance, and so that's the first thing we teach them. Where they have to sit. They have assigned seats, obviously. Put their book bag under their chair. Once they have instrument cases for violin and viola, it has to be on the right side of their chair. All that kind of stuff. So they know all the different steps. At least that's the first part. What did I miss?
Well, and with 6th graders, when they first get their instruments, they don't come in and just unpack.
Yes.
We first
Oh,
we
yes.
have everybody come in and we have everybody's attention, and then we unpack. And of course, we've taught the unpacking procedures and cellos and basses. Luckily, they can get them off the rack. We
Right,
don't have
sure.
to pack those
Right,
up every day.
yeah,
And so it's 2 points of contact, and we train them and have the routines, and you have to teach those routines.
And how long do
insist
you
on
go
those
over
routines.
that? I mean,
I feel like we still do.
every day, as long as
Yeah.
they need it. And
Yeah.
like after the break, after Christmas break, we did it. And then we had to do it again because we were
don't
out.
forget your
you
book
know?
bags go
If-
under your chair.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's different ways to do that without, you can be like, hey, good job, those of you that have your book bag under
Right,
your chair,
right.
because then all the kids that don't are like,
yeah.
they'll stick
Right,
it,
right, yeah,
So you try to frame, I think with that many kids and with middle schoolers, try to frame it in as a positive a way as you can, rather than those of you that aren't doing this, like, hey, look at everybody that's doing this, even if nobody's doing it. I think
Yeah,
that's
and
the
that
pro
works
tip,
for
right? Everything.
Yeah.
Everything is that positive reinforcement and
And the imaginary student, if nobody's doing what you want, you're
I
just
love
like,
how
hey,
Charles
I love.
is
Well, you don't even have to use
shadowboning
name. Oh, look at those of you that are
Yeah,
shadowboning.
yeah.
Nobody's shadowboning, but when you say that, they're like,
like,
oh,
oh.
I guess somebody is, so I need to.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
It's
it's a
good.
pro tip there.
Good mind game. We play to trick these kids to
True,
do what we
it's
want them to do,
true.
right?
It's a good thing for them.
So,
it's good for them.
but yeah, so procedures are huge. If kids, if some kids have their instruments on the left side and some kids on the right side, you're wasting space. And same with the backpacks. If one of them's out, like you can't get around. And
Yeah.
Right.
And I always tell them I'm going to trip on it because I'm a klutz. So,
Yeah.
I'm like, you're going to harm Miss Clement. Please move your book bag or whatever. And then they can have their feet flat on the floor and all that kind of stuff too. So,
then I guess the next thing is like when you first start the beginners, to tell us a little bit about some of your, I guess maybe your favorite tricks or favorite tips as you get them started.
Same thing, you're teaching, you try to teach with consistent kind of mantra kinds of things that are repeatable so that they remember. So we have this little posture chant we do, which is where we say feet flat, and they have to say feet flat, and you say back straight, edge of your chair, edge of your
then
chair.
they
and
say it back to you.
They say it
Okay,
back to you,
okay.
and then we go hoo-ah, just to be silly.
yeah.
And they love it, but then that gets them all in. So then they're where you want them, and then for instruments, for violins and violas, we do like 1, 2, 3, 4. We have a step, so
yep,
they come from
yep.
above, and then cello bass.
cello bass, they do 1, 2, and then feel for rain 3, 4. I didn't use my correct hand. Sorry, that should have been.
okay, neither did they.
I was
It's
like,
fine.
oh yeah, what am I doing here? Sorry. But anyway, but they also feel for rain, and then they bring their hand in, so
Great.
that they get that elbow up
Yeah.
and that kind of stuff.
And just trying to use phrases that are repeatable, and little tricks, fun little gimmicks and tricks,
Yeah.
that help them. And
We talk about posture, like the pop, where they can pop out of their seat. So they
Oh,
to say pop,
yep,
you
know,
yep,
right
pop
up.
up,
Yeah,
yep,
yep.
yep.
And,
So just
we're
anything
kind
that-
of known for using like little treats and gimmicks.
Yeah.
So we'll take
Yeah.
a Hershey's Kiss and put behind it in their chair.
Kissable
so we say that's
posture.
kissable posture.
Nice.
And they call the kids. A kid several years ago dubbed them snacktivities. So now that's what we call them.
Yep.
Because I
That's-
thought it was great because the kids come up with the best stuff.
That is amazing, yeah.
Snacktivities.
Yeah. So and then so by the end of the first year, I mean, obviously you're doing all the right hand, left hand music reading. What are some things you do for music reading, or like what are some activities you do for music reading, or some strategies you use?
Like beyond the method book.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, obviously we use your resources, your
Okay.
wonderful resources.
Okay.
They do a lot of flashcards, that kind of stuff.
musictheory.net, and
Yep.
you already have it.
Oh, the
leveled
little
on
levels.
your-
Yeah,
on
those are
your
nice,
website,
yeah.
which is so nice because we don't have to reinvent the wheel. So
Yep.
thank
Yes,
you for
thank
that.
you.
Good. Okay. Yay.
And in class, just saying things before you play them and modeling
we
everything.
do a lot of
We do a
modeling.
lot of modeling, and not just for the beginners, but they need to see what good posture and position looks like. They need to hear what good intonation and good tone looks
Yeah.
and sounds like. So I think even for high school, that's important.
Right.
And I think some people get away from that sometimes, and I get it, you just want to jump in, but
Or they think it's spoon feeding, but it's really not. When you
Yeah.
break it down, like she said, you're showing them what this is supposed to sound
Right.
like.
Yeah, they need to
otherwise
have that
they don't
model. They need
know.
to have
Yes.
those procedures
Right.
and those strategies to be able to do it themselves when they're not with
Right.
you.
And saying the note names, and it's a good time to get kids to sing. But again, another trick is you don't say, okay, sing these. You just say, let's say the notes together, and of course you're singing and they sing back.
Yep, that's
It's-
one of my
it just
favorite
works
tricks.
every time,
honestly, yeah, it's one of my favorite tricks is let's say and yeah, and then okay, and then I guess the next thing I'm really curious about is like how you develop like those bow hand skills and things like that, like because your kids have really good bow hands and there's a lot of teachers that have, big classes that have a hard time getting kids to do that. What are some of the things you do for bow hand shape or bow hand flexibility? That's the number one thing, right?
I can start.
Sure, you can start.
Well, we do definitely a lot of exercises away from the instrument, obviously on pencils, or we used to use, what are those called?
Pixie sticks.
Thank you,
The pixie sticks.
But they don't make them anymore.
They don't make pixie sticks anymore?
Well, you can get them on Amazon for like $40. That's
Oh,
a little
yeah.
rich for our blood.
Yeah, it's a sugar in a tube.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Right.
Probably why they stopped making
Right.
it.
Yeah, spaghetti, anything that they can practice on. And then obviously when we start doing the bow, it's a multi-step process. We teach them little gimmicks as far as like the pirate story or whatever. And we do it a lot. A lot of repetition in our class. And I feel like we're...
And all the time, like
Yes,
7th grade,
always doing it.
8th grade, like, every day is bow
Yeah.
hold day. And I think that's where we focus more. The left hand is important, but the kids will work more on left hand.
Yeah, that's what they worry
That's
about.
what they
They
worry
worry
about.
about.
So
They
we
forget
let-
that this is where all the
So
sound
we let
comes
them
from.
worry more about
Yeah.
the left. I mean, not that we don't fix things, but
Right, for sure.
But we take a lot of and we do a lot of open string. A lot of open string. I play, you play, and a lot of bow division and bow. I think we harp
It's like an
on-
awareness.
Yes,
Awareness of
yes, and
where you are in the bow.
Right, and we really do a lot of, because of the size of our groups, out of necessity, matching of bow placement, matching of style. How much do you use? And I think because as people will say, your classes are so big, but they played so well together.
yeah,
We were like,
well,
well,
that's-
because we
Yep.
and that's a great ensemble skill to have, no matter if you're in a quartet or a group of 100, right?
100%. Yeah, it's totally it. Yeah, that's just, it's remarkable what you guys do and how you're able to do it. How about assessment?
Somebody asked about this yesterday.
Like you have 100 kids in a class, you have 600 kids to grade with between 2.5 of you.
Right.
Right? And that's one assignment would be a massive amount of grading.
And we do some written assignments, or quizzes or that kind of stuff. But
Not
for
many.
for the most part, we do performance-based. And during COVID, when we were doing all the videos and stuff like that, that was a monumental task going through those videos.
Yep.
So typically, I take like 3 to 4 kids. She takes 3 to 4 kids, and I grade that group, and she grades at the same time.
Live in class.
So we can hear 8 kids at a time. And then we
At a
move on
time.
to the next whatever.
And
so
we do that from the beginning, so they're used to
Yep.
playing in front of each other. And it's not and we don't make a big deal about it. It's not like, don't be scared. We don't, it's just
We
like,
just say,
well, this
show
is
what
just
you
what
know.
we do. And
Yeah.
we call it's not a
Yep.
quiz, it's a show off, it's a show what you know. And so they've done it. And we do more of those in 6th grade and a few less in 7th. And then by 8th, it's more maybe, on scales that we want them to know or excerpts from their pieces. But,
Technique things
but we
shifting.
also, we look, we're so fortunate in the orchestra world that our assessment, so much of it can be visual too,
Yes.
because
Yeah.
our poor band colleagues in court,
Yes.
like, what's going on in
Yeah,
here? I
you
don't know.
don't. Yeah, it's
You
it's a
know.
mystery.
Right. So we can tell, and we all know who is getting it and who's not too. So we take some friends with us, or when Kathy comes,
Yeah.
we might have some friends on either maybe we want her to take out some of our top kids so that they can get some extra,
yeah.
that kind of thing too. So,
Wonderful.
So I think but yeah, definitely we do not sit down and listen to 600 individual playing quizzes because
that would-
I
I mean,
can't. We can't. It's impossible.
600, like even if each playing check was like 1 minute, you're talking about 600 minutes.
Right. That's 10 hours.
Oh, yeah, I don't have
Is that
time.
right?
That's,
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's 10
yeah.
hours.
Good job.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, way to math. Yeah.
thanks.
But yeah, that's a lot of, it's a lot of time.
Yeah.
And you guys don't have the time.
Much easier to do that.
Right. And we can get it done.
And I can give them immediate feedback. I
Right.
can say, watch this, or this was really good, and it's just great. It's
Yeah.
a really great way.
And
I
there
think,
is
to
that
assess.
little bit of accountability of, I'm playing it in front of not that we really focus on that, but they know they're going to be playing it in front of other
Yeah.
humans of their age, which they care more about than us hearing them. And so, and of course, if we have a child that has an IEP, or even if they don't, if they come up to us and say, I would like to play this by myself, it really freaks me out, then we hear that child.
Yep.
We can pull them, and we don't make a big deal of that. We just say, okay,
Yep.
hey, come on, do this. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And then what are some of the things that that have changed over the years?
Yeah. Kids have changed
Well,
a lot.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I agree.
Well, and we talked about this, and I said, I don't know that kids have changed as much as what they are they have access to has
Right,
changed.
yeah. Society has
And
changed. and it's
parenting has changed,
Yes.
I think. Because I am not going to sit here and say, had I had the same access to what they have access, that I wouldn't have been exactly the same way they were.
Right.
My parents would have been different than some of the parenting I see.
Yeah.
But, even before COVID, I think we were seeing a lot of changes in just a little bit more. Kathy has a great term for it, of learned helplessness.
Yeah, that's a thing.
And and so we balance in middle school. I think we have a balance of, I want to help you, of course, or is like, do you need to involve me if we have extra shoulder rests over there? Do you need to say, I don't have a shoulder rest?
Right. Yeah, and that's kind of what Adam was
that?
talking about in his. Adam Gresham he was on our podcast too. Did a session today on organizational things and ways to avoid having kids come up to you and ask for something.
And just let them
Like being problem solvers.
Right, be a problem solver.
You need a shoulder rest? Here they are. You need rosin? Here it is.
Right, you
you
know
need
where
this?
it is.
Figure it out. Yeah.
Figure it out. And then that frees you up to figure out the things they cannot.
Yeah.
How do you deal with 100 instruments and weather changes, which we've been having a lot of snow, and then now it's in the 60s. And
So say it's going to be 70 on Monday. Yeah, I know.
so, that's just it got to be a time suck from your instructional time.
Well, and one of the things, and she was talking about this earlier, we do a warm-up of open strings. So they're checking, we start that in 6th grade as soon as they're using the bow for open Cs, for open Gs. I think it's the born-off.
Open string cycle.
Yep, and it teaches them right away how to recognize if they're in tune or out of tune, or at least starts that process. So then they raise their hands if they are, and then we can walk around. And obviously when Kathy's there, it's much easier because we have a third person.
And you're showing them how to use the fine
Right,
tuners,
and they're
from the
determining they see us do it, but we're not taking every instrument out of their hands and just tuning it automatically for them. They're a little bit more responsible, and of course there's the kid that you're like, okay, they didn't raise their hand, and I can see their strings are not.
Yeah. I'm like, let me tune that for you.
But, they do, and it does suck time. And I think I think some of it is if it's going to be like a day, last Friday, of course, the way we did it is we just didn't go to school last Friday.
Yeah, we sure did.
Kathy did, and then we had a sub that was also an orchestra person. But when we know it's going to be a day that it's going to take longer, that might be when, okay, go on your Chromebooks, do these flashcards, and then we are going to check every instrument. And we just know going into it, we're not going to get as much done that day, but at least their instruments will be in tune.
And they're doing something else.
And they've done something that we need them to do. So it kind of kills.
I think we did that the Monday after we got back from the holidays because we knew it was going to be really
And how
bad.
about subs? When you have that many kids, do they come in and freak out?
Well, they try to get
I would.
It's nice because I'm never there. I don't know. I don't know if they're freaking out or not. They never leave us notes, so I guess that's good.
Right, we're like,
really?
They're either here, stuffed in a closet, or
nobody died.
No,
so,
exactly.
Right?
Well,
fingers crossed.
We think that it's. If we're both absent, we both have a sub. So there are two people in there. 6th grade, we typically don't let them have their instruments out when we're not there. But then 7th and 8th, we have LGPE coming up. We've missed a lot of school. We left very specific, not just practice, honor, and glory, but listen to this recording and measure blah, blah, blah. Make sure the kids could guide themselves through. Whether they did or not, I don't know. But some probably did. And then I think it was Sam Louder said, they're going to break stuff when I'm there. So, if they break stuff when I'm not there, it is. And it is. It's kind of, that's how,
I think the longer you teach too, the more of that you kind of let go, because I know earlier in my career I would have been like, oh no, they're not going to play while I'm gone. But now I'm like,
it is what
exactly. Exactly. So.
And Sarah, I know you're working on your, you have the new book out, Habits Book 1, and your book 2 will be out.
Book 2 is out in March.
So tell us a little bit about that, if you're.
Well, we have so many great resources, and it's we're so fortunate that we have so many great resources.
By the way, this is the habits
of a successful young string musician. And that's book 1. And then a lot of you are probably familiar that Chris Selby this method actually started at the highest level and has worked backwards, which I think is an interesting way. Yeah. And I think, as far as I know, maybe the only one that's done that. Yeah. And then he had the middle level, which he was very careful to label not middle school, but middle level, because that's great for into high school.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But then we needed a beginning book, and so it was all state in South Carolina. I was conducting All-State in 2021, post-COVID, but we were still in a ballroom, very spread out. Anyway, so Chris and Margaret kind of came, I knew them well, and they came up and said, we want to talk to you about this project. And then it sort of just, I met with them on Zoom and was like, oh, here we go.
Nice.
And we met every Wednesday night for 3 years, essentially.
Wow.
And I mean, pretty religiously.
Yeah.
We might have taken off Christmas, and I'm pretty sure we joked that I spent their anniversary with them, and because
that's awesome.
but we worked so
but
well
that's the
together.
kind of work that it takes to put up something like that together.
It does.
You know?
And then we were also, as book 1 was coming together, we kind of were getting book 2, because we would say we want this skill, we don't want it in book 1. So book 2 was a little easier in that we were like, okay, whatever's between book 1 and the middle level, if we can, where we can fit that in. So I've learned so much in that process.
For sure.
I've learned so much in that process, and I already respected anybody that did anything, resources for a profession, but you have a whole new respect.
Right. Yeah, and getting to work with the Selby's are
they're phenomenal too.
amazing.
Yes,
So they're on my list to get them on here too.
Oh, you should. Yeah.
It'd be fun to see how they work together and all that. Well, that's exciting.
It is.
Yeah,
it is.
very exciting. Very
Been
exciting.
traveling around lots of places to
to promote, right? Yeah.
the book.
Yeah, that's through GIA.
Yes.
It's published by GIA. That's awesome. Yeah. Awesome. What are some things that you're looking forward to, future-wise, besides retirement? Because we're all looking forward to that. But coming up within your program, or any goals that you guys have, like. You want 1,000 kids at some point?
No.
We don't have the room for that, Charles.
I know.
Please don't give her any ideas.
We're just going to move you to the gym.
I know.
And you're going to have classes of 400.
I tell people I would do it if we had the room, and Amy's really good because she pulls me.
I try to be the realistic person.
We have to cap, and that was
you do
hard.
cap, okay.
Well, we never did until the last couple of years,
2 or
and
3
it
years.
hurts both of our hearts to do it. But Amy's like, we don't have any more room, and I'm like, but I mean, I know you're right.
So how do you do that? Is like first come, first serve?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And we are really fortunate at our school that kids can double in a music, so they can take 2. And so when we first got, so just to give you an example, we figure we can seat 220, which is 110 per class. That's kind of in sixth grade.
Total beginner.
Total beginner, so 110 in each class. And it usually has worked out where we're pretty close. Well, last year I was going through the forms and I counted and I looked and I thought, this can't be right, so I'm going to just do this again before I involve Amy so that she doesn't freak out. I was like, so there's like 244. She's like, no, ma'am.
Oh, that's hard.
And then it was hard. So then we were like, we went to our principal and we were like, what do we do? So we first looked at, let's start with the kids that have put 2 to make sure they wanted to do 2.
Even, and we had a couple.
Yeah, so
that
we were
said,
able to.
Oh no, I didn't mean to sign up. Yeah.
And then we also then just sort of did first come, first served of kids. We did start like if they had to. We made sure that, because at least they were going to have one music that they picked. And we're clear on the sign-up form that if space fills up, I mean, it could happen, and I think everybody, for the most part, we were able to accommodate by the end that everybody got something that they wanted. But it's still...
It's hard.
It's hard because you're like, is there that one kid out there that needs us?
Right.
But that's why I at least feel like if they're in a music or something. But, that would be... My dream is that we would have a space that we could accommodate more kids, and a performing space at our school.
That would be nice too.
Would be nice.
You do your concerts at the high school?
No, we did them in the cafeteria.
The cafeteria.
The cafetorium.
Cafetorium.
Yes. Yeah. Which actually surprisingly does not have terrible acoustics because they have very high ceilings.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But it's not even the acoustics as much as it's very hard to get people to take a concert seriously.
Right. Seating.
Because you're in a cafeteria.
Right.
And
you have the ice cream machine over
there.
there.
And
they can like literally walk up to kids, it's like
it's not. There's no separation between where the performance is and where the audience is. Yeah.
And sometimes they struggle with.
I remember, when I was teaching middle school, we did all of our concerts in the gym, and it was there were little kids running around, and I'm just like, I can't do that, It's,
right, and then there's a balance of, but you want these little kids to be excited because these are your future kiddos, right? And so. There's a balance.
Excited, but sit down.
Oh my gosh, that's so, can you be excited from over there?
Go back to your mom.
Right.
Yeah.
That is something I think Amy and I are both very proud of, though, is we have so many siblings.
Yes.
And I think that speaks volumes.
For sure it does.
Because, kids talk, and you're going to talk either way, and we want it to be positive. And when one of our kids says, oh, my sister or my brother told me we were going to do this, and you're like, oh, they're telling them about all these little things, and you never know what's going to click with a kid.
That's super important that you have that that continuation. And have you had any kids that have kids?
Probably.
Like in our program?
Grant
I was
students
actually
yet?
one.
I have like
From before?
from before,
Yeah,
but
do
I
too.
don't
We
know.
have a student right now who's, I noticed the other day, it's funny you ask, his dad's name is the same as a student we taught, but it's also a very common name, so I
Okay.
don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
you-
now
yeah.
so I'll have to, I wanted to look into that. I mean, I'm not gonna say his name, obviously.
I'm trying to do the math in my head. I'm like, is that
Right.
because we've been there 15 years? So I don't know.
I mean, it's
Yeah,
possible.
when they're 12, I mean, if they're 12 and they come in and you've been there 15 years,
Yeah,
or
it's,
they're 20.
well, I don't know. He'd been really young, but I don't know.
Yeah.
You never know. Probably not.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's from earlier days.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sure,
Yeah.
It's just weird, you like look at your students that, I mean, I remember some of my students I started in Las Vegas, and I'm on Facebook and it's like, so-and-so's 40 today. I'm like, wait a minute. Oh,
That's when
yeah.
you start feeling really
Yeah.
old. Yeah,
You know, when we
Well,
have former
they're
students.
10 years younger than me.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's when I
Because I was like
realized.
22 and they were 12.
That's when
Yeah.
I realized I had no business teaching other people's children when I
Yeah.
was 22
Yeah.
years old.
Oh my
I was like, I
gosh.
was the one responsible for these children.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
a child, but
Yeah, that's amazing.
But no, but it's, I mean, it's great. That's the great part of our profession is we see our kids come back and teach, or you see our kids come back and they come back and visit, and
Yeah.
and it's
And they're
just
doing
amazing
awesome
to
things.
watch.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite
They're
part.
good
Yeah.
people.
Or we
Yeah.
go to the
Yeah.
high school and we see them, or even here we've
Yes.
seen a couple people. They're like, hey. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really cool.
It's proud moments.
It is,
Yeah.
it is,
Proud
yeah.
moments. Anything else? You guys, I don't know, like anything else you wanted to share, or?
I'm just trying to think. I'm like, all I can think of is Disney's next week, and then LGPE's 2 weeks
Okay,
after
so
that.
yeah.
I'm like,
yes.
So you have a Disney
Oh.
trip next week.
Yes.
And
Fine
and
arts.
is that for everybody?
It's band, chorus, orchestra,
8th grade.
8th grade,
so we're taking 6 buses.
between all 3 programs.
Yes.
of our 8th grade.
Yeah. So we have 133 orchestra
Orchestra
students.
Okay,
going.
that are going.
But that's a great thing that's something I think that we're also proud of is how well
Yeah.
our music department works together
Yes.
and
Oh
we
my
do
gosh,
something
yes.
together and
It doesn't happen everywhere.
It
No, it
doesn't.
doesn't. You know,
And
there's
we've
a lot-
been
a lot of
fortunate.
this.
We've been fortunate throughout our careers to have that and a wonderful administration. And I think we have been very fortunate, but I also think we work hard to have
Yeah,
those
yeah.
relationships and make those relationships because we're all stronger together. You know.
Yeah.
Band and chorus, similar size, a little bit smaller.
They're a little small, and we also have year-long guitar at our
Oh,
school,
that's
so we
right. I
have 4
remember
music
hearing about that.
programs. But we have about 2,400 students
yeah, it's a
at our
big
That's a
middle
school. That's a big school.
It's a big school, and there are like 80% of
Yeah.
the population is in at least one music. So
Yeah.
it's an expectation of the community
Yeah.
and the school, and it's kind of like if you're not in a music.
I was
you're
saying
the
all
weird
the
kid.
programs are high level. They
Yes.
perform at
Yes, and
GMEA or
Midwest.
Midwest
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yes.
So it's really exciting.
But they are. I think chorus is well into 300s, as is guitar, and band is into I don't know, probably 500, 400 or 500.
Yeah.
So yes, so
That's
they're all
amazing.
very healthy.
But a huge school. Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 Yes.
You have a lot of portable classrooms and things.
No, we actually have an addition.
Oh,
So
wow.
they built this school in 2009, and 6 years later we
5
had
or
a-
6 years later, they built an addition.
Yeah, so
That's That's
Still
that
not
area
with
is
a
booming.
larger
Yeah.
orchestra room.
Right. Of course. No.
yeah,
You didn't get
they
the-
tried.
They
tried.
did.
Oh,
Our
they did.
principals tried, and then like I said, we've had 2 wonderful principals at North Gwinnett, and they are all like, every time they ask us, we ask
Yep.
because all they can say
I think
is
our
no.
fine arts director also asked too.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I just think in general, just if anybody's listening to this, especially younger teachers, just it's a hard job, but it's so worth it. And it's
Yes.
just I don't know another profession that just where we get to do what is it's so important and it's fun.
Yeah.
I tell people
You gotta make it fun, though.
say,
I
if you're
mean,
not having fun, you're doing it wrong.
Right.
Exactly.
And not every day is fun. I'm
Right.
not going to
Yeah,
lie.
sure. Yeah.
LGP, but
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but just and stick with it. You have to stick. I think I think we're losing a lot of younger teachers, and I get it. But just stick with it because it does get better. And maybe you're just not in the right place yet. It's not that you're not in the right,
Right.
profession. You're
But,
just
everybody
not in
has
the
to
right
pay
place.
pay their dues. I mean, everybody has. It's like you're not always going to be in the ideal
Yep.
situation.
Right.
And you do your best what you can in that situation, and then see what opportunities arise.
Right. I mean, I remember when I first started teaching in that, because essentially I'm in the same community that I started. So I've been there for 28 years. It was just 2 different schools that split, and I was told, well, it's never going to be really an orchestra community, but you can just do the best you can. Well, I was young and dumb, so I'm like, challenge accepted. Well, now look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you send them. Do all of your students go to North Gwinnett High School?
Yes.
Yeah. So you're sending like a ton of kids to North Gwinnett, and that's where David Metrio is, and
And
Sean
Sean
Martin.
Martin.
Yeah.
And we're so fortunate to have
Yeah.
those two. They're
And
both
then-
kid magnets.
Yeah.
And we work so well together as a vertical team, and we taught David.
Right.
He came through a program, and Sean was a bridesmaid in my wedding. So, I mean, you know, we're all.
Yeah.
it's
You're
just-
tight.
we're
That's tight.
Yep.
So.
I was also going to add too, like if you ever do have a chance to work with someone else, definitely don't be afraid of that either. And I think having a co-teacher relationship is very healthy, and it just makes going to work so much more enjoyable. I mean, our job obviously makes it enjoyable, but then also having somebody that you can work with and
When you could count on it, like you said, if you're not 100%, you got that little backup.
Exactly.
You know.
And just to share, like, you know, there's some things you're like, if there was not another person to see this, they wouldn't believe it. But there is a witness of some of the things as middle school teachers and, you know, just whatever.
Crazy
Teachers
stories.
in general. And we laugh, and you laugh every day and
do.
laugh with your kids, and we do laugh every day.
Yeah.
That's what it's about.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you guys taking the time to come out
Yeah,
here.
thank you
I
for
know
having us on. It's almost
late.
dinner time.
It is dinner
It
time,
is.
and it's a long day of sessions and concerts and things. But I appreciate you guys
Absolutely.
taking
Thank
the
you for
time.
asking us.
And
For
thank
sure.
you, and thank you for having this resource. I think
Yes,
it's so
oh my
great.
gosh.
It's so awesome.
I've enjoying it, and like I said, every time I do one, I'm learning from you guys, and
Same.
it's a lot of fun to do, and hopefully it's helpful for everybody. So, I guess that's a wrap on this one.
Yes.
We are continuing to have some more Georgia educators on here because they're close to me, and there's so many amazing teachers
We
here.
are so fortunate in Georgia. Amazing orchestra community.
It's great. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Charles.
Appreciate it.
We
Thank you.
appreciate
So signing off for the Orchestra Teacher Podcast, we got Amy Clement and Sarah Ball. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in. For resources and more information, visit orchestrateacher.net.